They were the heroes from the future, teenagers protecting the universe from those that would sow the seeds of chaos. Each had unique powers and abilities, and though they often had their differences, they came together to save the day as the Legion of Superheroes. Now, you can be a part of their adventures and learn the history of the future in the Legion Clubhouse.
This week on the Legion Clubhouse, promises made, promises kept.
Legion of Superheroes Volume 3, Annual Number 2. Child of Darkness, Child of Light. Published October 1986. Written by Paul Levitz with art by Keith Giffen, Curt Swan, Ernie Colón, and Larry Mahlstedt. Synopsis. The secret of Validus is revealed, but will it be too late to save him from Darkseid?
We finally get the second annual of the Legion of Superheroes.
This is like the fifth second annual, I think.
The fifth second annual, that's like 10 annuals.
Exactly.
That's a Matthew joke, everybody.
Exactly.
That's why you can hear all that laughing.
Well, and the thing is, if you go look at...
So here's the thing. There are many artists on this annual. We got Keith Giffen, we got Curt Swan, we got Ernie Colón, Larry Mahlstedt, and it kind of works to an extent because it starts out really ruddy and really crude, and I think that must be is that Curt Swan doing the opening bit?
The opening bit with Darkseid is Giffen and Mahlstedt.
Okay, because by the time you get to the very, very end of the issue, it's like really thin lines and really airy light colors, and it looks really weird. It is just a total tonal shift from beginning to end. Yeah, when it comes to the art in this issue.
That closing sequence with Saturn Girl is also Giffen, but I'm not sure if that's Mahlstedt inks. That may be Keith's own inks. And I tried to find a breakdown of issue or like page by page, and I couldn't find one. But I can tell you that
somebody out there knows.
On page 4 or 5, when Validus first appears, that starts the Curt Swan and Ernie Colón. And oh my God, they work well together. I did not expect that they would. But
I mean, they draw the dirtiest space hippies ever. These dirty space hippies got exactly what they deserved.
But look how cool Validus looks. Oh, man. Validus looks great. And then the space hippies, I mean, they're fine.
Run, you little space hippies, run.
Bitter dregs.
So the other thing that's also a little bit weird that is something that we don't normally see in a Legion of Superheroes story is the narration. Not that we don't see narration before, but in the way that the narration is told. And what it's interesting because, I don't know, probably within 10 years, by the time you hit the mid 90s, especially with Flash and I think Superman, if I remember correctly, both kind of had this very kind of direct narrator narrating a story to you. His name is Validus, and though no one, it's really weird to see it in a Legion of Superheroes book, and it is. I can understand why they're doing it in the annual, but at the same time, Paul Levitz is also writing the main book, and he doesn't do it in the main book unless we start to see that change starting to slip in. But it kind of takes me out of the book a little bit. I don't mind it. I think it's well done. But it does kind of take me out of the story a little bit because I keep having to stop and going, wait, is this really a Legion book?
See, at the beginning, it feels like he's trying to make up for the fact that Validus is basically pre-verbal. Validus can say "yarg,"
right?
But then it continues, and I feel like, especially in the mid '80s, going into the beginning of the real second comics boom, like the comics boom that starts in about '89 and crashes really hard in 96.
Yeah.
I feel like this may be an attempt to kind of like call on that Legends of the Dark Knight gravitas or something, because it's really, it's high toned. Their name is the Legion of Superheroes, and though they're little more than youths, they are legend.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting.
A bit much.
But that's the weird thing, right? Because this is being portrayed as a fairy tale told in 3 parts, right? Where you have the once upon a time, there was an evil wizard who did evil wizard things. and he cast a curse upon the Legion of Superheroes, 2 of them specifically. And then we are introduced to Validus, this what will become, he's as he's always portrayed, an out-of-control character with no mind, but then becomes a very tragic character by the end of the story when we finally, finally find out what his deal is.
Do you know what his deal is?
Well, yeah, I've read the issue. In fact, I read it about a month ago.
That's probably for the best. I read it in 1988 or so.
Yeah, so you've forgotten a lot of stuff that happens, I'm sure.
Oh, please. Yes,
Cousin Oliver shows back up.
Oh. You know, the annoying part is I know as soon as you started making that joke, I was like, oh my God, that's why they named him that. They named him and now I'm mad about it.
Yeah.
Oh, makes me so mad. But yet, not only does he show up, he's slowly turning to stone like the protagonist of an ELO song.
I know, it's really weird that it's slow, and it's not really clear why it's happening.
The only thing, and Element Lad spends a lot of time in this issue theorizing over things that are never cleared up. But Element Lad, I think, at one point theorizes that he's slowly turning into one of the Servants of Darkness.
Oh, could be.
But the thing about the Servants of Darkness was they were explicitly clones of Superman and a Guardian and Calabac and Shadow Lass's great-great-great-grandma. And I think Karate Kid's 1977 landlady, Mrs. Calabash. But yeah, it is weird, but it's also disturbing because he's turning to stone, but his hair is still there. And so it looks weird.
Yeah, there are times in this issue, especially like when the Legion are called to the planet and we discover that there's this secret cult of Darkseid lurking around. There are some times when we see Cousin Oliver, and because of the way they've colored his hair, which is this bluish color, and it's lighter than the rest of his body, I keep thinking, like Validus, where you have a plexiglass dome, I kept thinking that Cousin Oliver has a plexiglass dome for a head, and we're seeing his brain on the inside too. And so it keeps throwing me when we get later in the issue, and it's like, oh no, it's clear that he has regular hair. It's just in his first couple of pages appearance, there's a little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, I think it's a coloring thing. And this,
it totally is. Yeah.
This came out during the days of Mando paper. I don't think this was a flexographic issue, but this came out during the days when they were experimenting.
So they would have upped the quality of the paper, I think.
Yeah. And by the way, when you said that it's clear, it's actually not clear because that's exactly what you were saying. But yeah. So these weird underground Darkseid worshipers that we've never seen before.
I kind of dig it. On the one hand, I like that there's this secret cult that worships Darkseid like he's still around, which, he is, but he hasn't reappeared since, the Legion kicked his butt way back in whatever it was, issue 500. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, way back in the Great Darkness saga, which would have been 1979 or something.
Yeah, so it's interesting for them to, number one, carry on this Validus saga for so long, but also to get to see the Legionnaires crack heads with these cultists. I mean, I'm always personally, I'm a big fan of secret cults. These cults that have these real, they're not secret anymore. They're all over Twitter. You can just see them out in the open. But it's cool to see the Legion track down the clues and figure out where they're coming from and bust in at the last minute to save some crazy old guy who has a heart attack right there on the stage. Yes. And then do some fighting and some punching. And I dig it.
This is a really great quartet of Legionnaires to play with too, because you've got Wildfire, who's the old pro. Wildfire knows everything. Just ask him. And you've got Block, who's kind of this neutral presence. Invisible Kid, who was the new guy when Darkseid attacked, and Magnetic Kid, who is now the new guy. And they really play well, kind of a Fantastic Four gimmick going on off of each other.
Yeah, because you've got the one that's on fire, the one that's made of rock, you've got the one that can turn invisible, and then you've got the other one, the weird one.
The magnetic weirdo. But it's nice to see, like, Invisible Kid remembers Darkseid and is freaked out. And, like, literally, Wildfire remembers, oh, yeah, I used to be a leader, and stops to try and, help his friend out. He pats him on the back. We'll get him. It's fine. Calm down. You're good.
Yeah.
I like that. And I really like what you refer to as the good cop, bad cop vibe between Wildfire and Block.
Oh, yeah, because they go to interrogate some dirty hippies. And Block and Wildfire are just very much lethal weapon kind of characters where you definitely have a good cop, bad cop vibe going on in here.
You want to tell my friend what you know about these things? And Block is just standing there 9 feet tall. He has no idea what's going on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see what else. So Validus and Cousin Oliver escape in a boom tube. Right. And that should be everyone's clue that something's going on, not the giant carving of Darkseid on the hillside, which, come to think of it, you don't really have much of a secret society if there is a giant carving of Darkseid in the side of the mountain, and that's where everyone's at, and you can't find them. I don't know if that says more about the plotting and the art of the issue, or if it's just that the Legion are not that smart at the end of the day, but whatever.
Keep in mind, that's enough of a trope that they made fun of it in Austin Powers a few years later. But yeah,
I know.
I feel like that should be, especially when you've got 10 members with telescopic vision, that should be a dead giveaway. But the whole I don't know what the boom tube thing is just makes me so mad. Because as soon as they teleport away, Block is like, there's no way we could have stopped them. And Invisible Kid just stands there with his face on his head.
Again, we talked about this when he jumped into the other dimension and rescued the first Invisible Kid, that they were intentionally, maybe on Levitz's part, intentionally trying to de-emphasize the fact that he can jump between dimensions or jump between worlds. Also, there's Tyrock that can do the same thing, kind of. So yeah, it's really weird that they're just kind of like, well, I don't know where they went to, and I don't know how we're going to get there. Also,
he had a
planet Earth
secondary power.
I know, right? Also, planet Earth. If you are going to encase yourself in a Mylar bag, make sure that it's impervious to boom tubes. Those things will ruin your planets.
Mylar, if you don't put a board with it,
maybe that's what the problem is.
I mean,
maybe that's the problem.
Change the
with
Mylar every 8 or 10 years too.
This giant bubble that they surround Earth, and yet Validus just walks in like there's no problem, and he goes 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 problem. All right, now let's see if you can hear me now. I can't hear Matthew.
Well, that's because I was muted. How's that?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
cool.
Had a crash there. Thank goodness Craig's around to save our bacon. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, something happened to Validus. Why did Validus kind of freak out like that?
Well, he saw a little crib in the window.
And he realized he doesn't have a mommy or a daddy. And he was
he recognized the crib because later in the issue, it falls and Ultra Boy goes, hey, that's the crib that Tina and I gave Lightning Lad when Graham was born. So somehow, and I think it may be some sort of psychic power or residue or something, he recognized that crib had something to do with Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl's children.
Yeah. And he then goes over to the Legion Clubhouse. He rips it open and he pulls out the symbols for Santa Girl and Lightning Lad. And of course, that should be our second clue. We have figured it out. If only Brainiac 5 were here, he would have had to figure it out panels ago.
Right.
But they have figured
Ultra
it out.
Boy is not the one to do it. I do appreciate the fact that Timberwolf has the sense to jump inside the headquarters and put up the shields. And I did not realize that the headquarters could actually blast off into space.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
That's a little bizarre.
Yeah. Anyway, we then go to the planet Winnet. And we get to see Santa Girl and Lightning Lad and little baby Graham in a really creepy onesie just running around. And Lightning Lad decides to push Saturn Girl into a big old pile of poison ivy.
It's not poison ivy, first of all.
Remember, this is leaves of 5. You're going to get hives.
This is Winnet. Things are different on Winnet.
Yeah.
He pushes her into...
Looky, Mommy, a giant boom tube is opening.
Oh, that's fun. Take the baby and run.
Yeah, and this is where the art gets really weird, in my opinion. It's a little heavy outlined, and the colors are really more pastel than anything on here.
Yeah, this is definitely Colón's influence more, especially if you look at Saturn Girl's face on page 30.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's a lot more Colón in this than there was earlier.
Yeah. And then I really like that Saturn Girl and Lightning Lad are like, oh, protect the people, but then let's go beat up Cousin Oliver and Validus and put a stop to this. And while Cousin Oliver is trying to take down Lightning Lad, Saturn Girl tries to make this connection with Validus once and for all, and they do a mind meld. And she has a freak out moment. And then she's like, oh no, I know what's going on here. And even though Validus goes and picks up little Graham, and Lightning Lad is ready to beat Validus down, he gets stopped at the last minute. Oh yeah, I think he is. I really think he is doing anything to protect his child.
And she stops him. Garth, no! But he's got our son.
And then she explains, wait, Validus is also our son. And then Cousin Oliver is like, no, which doesn't make any sense either. This is what, so the back half of this. So I really, really like this issue, this annual. I think it does really, really good stuff until like the last 3 or 4 pages of the book, where suddenly Saturn Girl is like, no, he is our son. They're both our sons. And then Cousin Oliver is like, no. And then he turns to stone and crumbles away to dust. But then at the same time, we didn't never see Darkseid. We see the shadow of Darkseid, right?
The shadow of Darkseid, yep.
And Saturn Girl is like, you have, the curse has been fulfilled. Darkseid, why have you done this? Please give my children back to me. Oh, please. And then Validus shrinks down into a baby, and that's it. And it's like,
she said, please.
What? But that's not what Darkseid wants.
Darkseid wanted to torture her. And I feel like at the point where it was clear that they knew that this was their son, and they weren't going to murder him, which was the whole point. They were supposed to murder him, and then he would shrink down into their son, and then they would be like, no, we've killed our child. They figured it out, and she said, please. And the one thing that is most important on Apocalypse, above all else, is please and thank you. You must be incredibly polite, or Darkseid will turn you to dust. But I do like the fact that he admits, that he makes her kind of accept the darkness, maybe the darkness in her, maybe not. But she still says she will not be afraid of that darkness. And that even though she almost respects him for giving her his son back, she is not afraid of him. And I'm like, either this woman is made of steel or she lies really well. But that ending to me is very strong, because it's just a mother saying to this literal force of nature, thank you for giving me back my son. Please don't cross me again, or I will find a way to destroy you or die trying. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
It just doesn't seem like a very Darkseid move, right? It's because at no point do I feel like I could see Darkseid going, ha ha ha, I pity you.
Right.
And what, that I have finally broken you. But neither Saturn Girl nor Lightning Lad are broken when they realize what is really going on. And all she says is please, but that's not enough to say I am broken.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, okay, I guess I'll give you your kid back now. And so it's just that little bit seems very not Darkseid to me. It feels not like the Darkseid that we have grown to love and respect and fear after all of these years.
I feel like the end of the Great Darkness saga, where he wasn't killed, or he wasn't taken out. Literally, the Legionnaires basically came together. They brought back the High Father, his counterpart, whatever it was. And Darkseid, at that point, he did not get beaten. He conceded. So he had an army of Daxamites, Superboy, Supergirl, the entire Legion, his own son, all of this stuff going on. And he's just like, all right, I admit defeat, but I'm going to leave you with this curse. And it kind of feels like, combined with this story and knowing a story that comes down the pike a ways, I feel like Levitz is just saying, this is Darkseid walking away. This is Darkseid saying, I'm not going to mess with you anymore. I'm not going to give you people anything. But
that's the thing. In this case, Darkseid is essentially a bully, right?
Yes, but he's a 1,000-year-old bully, and I think
yeah. But he's also somebody that is a bully that doesn't back down unless he's been bested. And again, I just don't feel like Darkseid has been bested to the point where he would just be like, "Bah, I give up on you guys," because he's got Saturn Girl where he wants her, where she's on her knees begging, "Please." And all he has to do is turn that screw a little bit more, and her mind is snapped, and he wins then. And he doesn't. He takes it all the way up to the brink and then backs away like somebody who is not able or willing to go the extra step to be truly evil. And, if this were, what's the wizard guy's name? I'm forgetting off the top of my head. No. Mordru. If this were Mordru would be like, "Oh no, I'm cracking all of your brains and I'm going to leave you a puddle of mush. And I will never turn your son back because that is what I am, Mordru." And I even think Emerald Empress would sit there and go, I have this knowledge and I'm going to torture you with this knowledge every single time. Come with me, Validus. And Validus follows Emerald Empress off. And every time from there on out that the Fatal Five would meet with the Legion, she's like, "Okay, you remember your son, attack." She would just be that kind of evil. But Darkseid just is like, "I'm going to be evil." And then he gets right up to the line and they're like, "Okay, Darkseid, blink." And he blinks and turns and walks away. And it feels very anti-Darkseid.
I feel like the line on page, I don't know, maybe 38, where he's like, "One just has failed." It's kind of, and I admit that I don't think that it's conveyed through the story, but it kind of feels like from that line that Darkseid is just toying with them. And that by having Saturn Girl, who is, this heroic beacon of blah, 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 acknowledge the power of the darkness, that's enough for him right now. He's amused. He's fine. He's going to give her back her kid and he'll mess with her later on down the line. It kind of brings to mind a couple of things, like an old guy. So like, let's say somebody's old, like, I don't know, 53, and you're tired of it. You don't have the patience. You're just, you're sick.
Then I would say you're not a villain. Matthew.
But maybe he's not anymore. It's been a long time for him. And again, when we last saw him, he was like, "I'm done with this. I'm done. I give up. I'm done. I concede, whatever. Now I'm going to go live in a cave or something." I don't know. I feel like part of what I'm thinking is based on foreknowledge of a story that hasn't come out yet. So definitely a slow burn on Levitz's part.
Yeah. And that may be that's fine. I don't have a problem if Levitz is like, "I'm just going to let people realize that I had this master plan all along." But if someone is reading this for the first time, whether back in 1989 or I'm sorry, 86 or in present day, you get to this and you realize that you've seen Darkseid in so many other appearances over the years. And this is not that Darkseid. And so it feels very out of character for him. And I would say, hey, this annual is great. This annual has twists and turns, and it has laughs and tears, and it has a shocking revelation, and then it just kind of goes away. And now Lightning Lad has to figure out how he's going to build back up their apartment and take care of two screaming twins.
If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate your support. You can find out more and become a Legion Clubhouse member at patreon.com/major spoilers.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know that this is like the third episode in a row that we have gone without any breaks. Or so it would seem. Here's the thing. Right in the middle of recording this episode, my computer crashed. Again. Fortunately, we have a backup going in place, and that's why you're able to listen to this episode. But just imagine if we hadn't have turned that backup on, and then we would have lost an episode again. So here's the deal. We've got several of our spoilerites, big fans of everything that we do at Major Spoilers in the Legion Clubhouse, who have stepped forward and have contributed mightily to the computer replacement program. And so if you are listening to this show right now, we've come close, but we still have about another $1,200 to go to get this laptop replaced so that we can continue to bring you the Legion of Superheroes podcast every other week. If you would like to contribute to this, I'm going to ask you to head over to patreon.com/major spoilers. You can make a one-time donation if you like, or you could become a recurring patron. That is also a big benefit to you because you get a bunch of extra stuff in return. But right now, we're about $1,200 away from being able to afford our laptop upgrade, and hopefully that will take care of a lot of this nonsense. Thank you for your support and your consideration. And now let's get back to the show.
Legion of Superheroes Volume 3, Number 28, The Lost Hero. Published November 1986. Written by Paul Levitz with art by Greg LaRocque, Mike DeCarlo, and Arne Starr. Synopsis. A Legionnaire is forced to resign, and his replacement may not be all that he seems.
Issue 28, Matthew. The Legion have been summoned to Xanthu. That's where Olivia Newton-John goes and does her roller skating.
Exactly, with Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
I feel like the tribute of Xanthu, who's apparently like their president or their pope or, I don't know, their whatever you want to call it, their grand poobah, pulls some strings to get a message to Starboy, who brings the Legion to his homeworld to fix a broken satellite. That seems like some bullcrap to me. Now, I'm like, there are 6 Legionnaires here. Think of what terrible things could be happening in other places in the galaxy while the 6 Legionnaires are floating around and going, hey, what are we doing over here? And I just, the very premise of this issue annoys me until we find out that he's got something else on his mind.
I guess. I don't know. It feels like a very Federation, Star Trek episode where, the Enterprise has been called to repair the transporter beam on Delos 7. Yeah. And that seems like very much what's going on here is the Legion are willing to go out on any kind of call, especially from a home planet of one Starboy. And when they finally get it fixed and they go down, they do meet President Fancy Pants. And he's like, hey, Atmos is gone. And everyone's like, Atmos, not Atmos. And then all the readers who are reading this are like, wait a minute, who the hell is Atmos?
Well, I'll tell you, Atmos sucks.
Why does he suck?
Oh, you'll find out. Atmos sucks. Okay. So Atmos has gone missing. And Starboy, and I guess it's only 5 Legionnaires. Yeah. And I mean, it's Chameleon Boy, Invisible Kid, Timberwolf, and Dawnstar. And at least 1.5 of them is a very important Legionnaire. So
is it Wolverine who flies around the panels like he's Spider-Man?
Okay, first of all, that's Timberwolf, not Wolverine. Second of all,
look at those mutton chops and those pointy ears. And it's like, wow, he is the most Wolverine that he's ever been in this book. And there's a page where he is flipping around and he's like in a Spider-Man pose, as if Spider-Man were flying over New York. It's just really kind of crazy.
Timberwolf's unique superpower is his super agility, because his ability to his strength and his super speed and his other stuff are all duplicated by someone else on the team. His unique power is super agility.
He's the best. He's the best at what he does, man.
Man, don't even start that nonsense.
Look at the page where he's
just trying to bait me now.
Look at the page where he's like got like fangs. That's something that we haven't seen in a while, or at least not this pronounced. I think we see sometimes in the wider shots where he's screaming and his incisors look a little bit bigger, but here it's clearly wolf fangs.
Yeah, his fangs and occasionally his red eyes will come back. Because what was it? Maybe 25 issues ago, we had that story where he went to the medical satellite and had his feral face removed.
Yeah.
But occasionally he will still wolf out or wolf up. I don't know. We'll have to ask.
Wait, what year did Teen Wolf come out?
86.
Oh, did it? Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Up, wolf out.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. And we missed the issue where his father came in and said, well, there's probably something I needed to tell you there, Bryn.
Boy. Okay. What is going on with Dream Girl, and why do they continue to not know what to do with her?
Dream Girl is injured from the previous issue. You remember she fell and she got her arm hurt.
Yeah.
And remember when
now because she fell down and got her head conked or whatever. Now she's all into Brainiac 5, and she's like, she's Starboy's away, Brainiac.
She's flirting. She's always been a weird little flirt, and Brainiac calls her and says to Element Lad, she's wasting her mind. And Brainiac 5, this is an example of a character trying to give another character the rub, and it just feeling like the writer trying a little too hard. The smartest character in the Legion, possibly in the DC universe, calls out how smart Dream Girl is. And I'm just like, this is like when they handed a world title to Jeff Jarrett in 1999. I'm just like, I didn't buy it then. I don't know if I buy it now, but I do like it, because I really appreciate seeing the moment where she's like, okay, fine. And then she puts on her makeup with her magic makeup flipperty-dipperty and goes off to continue, flirty-burbiting around and just going, tee-hee. It is really, I feel. And
it's annoying is what it is.
You've argued with me before. It feels like an attempt to show off how this character is smart and capable and unique, but also the whole thing is weirdly misogynist, because she's she's smart and capable, but she's also flirty. And,
but they make her the dumb blonde.
Right. They make her act like a dumb blonde, and then everybody's like, well, look how smart she is. And I'm like, you made her act like a dumb blonde.
Yeah.
So long.
That's why all of this stuff is annoying, and the constant flirting is annoying. I mean, I can understand it because when Starboy's around, it drives him nuts. But when he's not around, what's the point? It really is. I don't know.
She also
makes her feel like, it also makes her, again, one of the weakest, in my mind, one of the weakest members of this entire Legion of Superheroes. And I know some people are out there going, how dare you speak bad about Donnie? She's the best. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. There's just nothing you can do to convince me that she is effective. Or if she is effective in the team, there's no way you can convince me that whoever's writing an issue that has her in it, whoever the writer is, doesn't know what to do with her. You can't convince me that the writer knows what to do with her, because they write her in so many different ways that some people might say she's got the multiple personality disorder, where she is, at one moment she's this strong, effective leader. The next thing she's this really smart person. The next time she's this really dumb blonde. The next time she's faking this ability to see into the future, like some kind of
stop saying she's faking her powers.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's how they portray her. That's what I'm saying, is writers don't know what to do with this character, and thus the character is a waste.
The hard part is, I fully support an attempt to give us a character who is traditionally feminine and glammy and pretty, and she's into pretty dresses.
I don't have any problem with that. But they make her dumb.
Also trying to make her seem smart. I just feel like, and again, this is 1986, so we're coming out of an era of the women's liberation movement isn't necessarily ending, but it's definitely changing into something different.
Well, Title IX is already over a decade old. So
right, but if you look at things like around about the same time, there was that movie with Melanie Griffith
and Tootsie. You've got Tootsie. Yeah,
but do you remember the Melanie Griffith movie where she's like, "Okay, I'm going to take over and I'm going to be this cool businesswoman, but I'm also going to vacuum naked." And I feel like he may have been trying to play into some of that, but I don't know. I feel like by making this flirty, girly girl, over the top, tee-hee Blanche Dubois personality central to the character, I do agree with you that it comes across as making her seem dumb. And I feel like he was trying to, build something and build something and build something. We do get some stuff coming up, but I don't know that they ever successfully pulled it off. But the
problem is that that's kind of been her shtick since they introduced her, though.
Oh, I don't know if I go that far. I feel like it's definitely been there for the last 4 or 5 years. But before that, she was kind of a conniving backstabber. When she was introduced, she was kind of a conniving backstabber. And then for several years in between, she was an absolute cipher with no personality whatsoever. So, I mean,
yeah, again, that's just my thing. She may be the most powerful weapon in the Legion of Superheroes arsenal. But if you don't have a writer who knows what to do with the character, and they can't be consistent with that character, and it just makes her not a good character. I mean, we see less of Shrinking Violet, and she has more character development and is consistent in that character development than what we see with Dream Girl, and she's around all the time.
Yeah. And, we do also have that. And this is another issue where it's nice to not see the Legionnaires being just utter D-bags to each other.
No.
But
they're definitely not.
We have like Dawnstar being haughty and snotty, and Timberwolf being dumb, but also cruel to block. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like, in an attempt to make sure everybody has a character, everybody also has negative aspects to their personality, which is good, again, but it's also a problem when those negative aspects, as you mentioned, kind of overshadow what actually is good. We have a moment where halfway through this issue, just a little side bit with Tellus and Magnetic Kid working out at headquarters, and Polar Boy going, "Hey, I'll help you work out," like he's been on the team longer than they have.
Yeah.
Schmuck.
Yeah. I also like that Magnetic Kid's powers are increasing, which should be an indicator possibly to readers that something's going on.
I wish that his powers didn't go sproing. I hate the fact that the Brailians now have powers that go spring. It's just why?
It's like a clock that is wound too tight and the spring has sprung. Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. So the team continues to investigate and search, and nobody can find Atmos.
Yep.
And honestly, how this, I made this note that this issue kind of reads like an early RPG video game, right? Like if you're playing some like early Final Fantasy, or, even before Zelda or something like this. This book reads like we have to track this down. There's all these little side missions that you have to go on. There's all these clues that you have to investigate. And it just really feels like an RPG video game for some reason.
If you don't have tea and no tea, you're not going to be able to pilot the ship up to the shore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they basically can't find Atmos anywhere.
Nope. Atmos is gone.
Gone.
Not just gone, but he's not the only one. Other heroes are disappearing around the galaxy.
What? Could this be an effect of Crisis on Infinite Earths? They've been erased from existence? Or could it be something else?
I don't know, man, but it's happening all across the universe. Oh, wait. No, I forgot. Never mind.
You like cookies, Matthew?
I do like cookies.
Yeah,
I think
everyone loves
racist
cookies.
To ask Chameleon Boy if he eats.
So I know you put that up that no. She doesn't ask that if he eats. She says, "Do you eat cookies?" And I don't really read that as a racist comment. Because maybe there's some dietary things that she didn't think about, and so she doesn't know what a Durlan eats or doesn't eat. So I think she's just being polite, saying, I just assume that everybody eats like I do. Maybe you don't, and that's okay too. Is there's essentially apologizing if she has made up a mistake.
See, and I would buy that if it weren't for the look drawn on her face when Dawnstar politely turns her down. She's got this look like, oh. And to me, it just looks a little bit judgy when she's looking at it's just like, oh, you're a vegan. But I do appreciate the fact that could have been an awkward situation, but Cam handles it so gracefully. He takes a cookie and he smiles. He's like, of course, doesn't everyone love cookies? I'm just like, that is so neat on his part. I really do appreciate seeing that level of maturity, because you could see that going terribly bad.
Oh, sure.
Especially with, we just spent 10 minutes complaining about Dream Girl being a whiny flibberty gibbet. If Chameleon Boy was still in his angry young man phase, that could easily have gone bad. That could have been like, oh, you're a racist lady.
Also, I don't think Dawn Starr is vegan. She just says, I like natural foods. Meaning she doesn't like the processed sugars.
Unprocessed.
Yeah.
Vegan.
No, that's not vegan. That is not vegan.
How do you think she has the psychic powers? Vegan edge. Okay.
No, that's not it. That's not
90% of your brain is filled with curds and whey. And that's how she has tracking powers.
Anyway, the Grand Council of whatever planet they're on calls him forward, and they say, Starboy, since Atmos is gone, you are now our champion, and so you must stay behind. And he's like, but my wife and kids back home. And they're like, it matters not. You're our champion now. And then Dream Girl is like, she walks into the room, and Element Lad's like, darn, Starboy has to stay on that planet. And she's like, I knew this was going to happen. I foresaw this. The end.
He already took his symbol. The mission monitor board symbols, by the way, 2 issues in a row, have been used for these deep philosophical, emotional moments. And on the one hand, the superhero nerd part of me really appreciates it. But the actual practical part of me is like, that's dumb.
I don't know.
I'm going to cuddle my boyfriend's symbol that I took down off of the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. This issue I don't think is as strong as the annual. I think the annual had a lot more going for it. This one seemed like a wild goose chase for really no apparent reason. Like I said, it feels like an early RPG video game. And the only prize that you get at the end is Starboy's symbol. Take this. You will need it on your adventure. The Way is Dark. It's just okay. It's just okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just really dislike the parts with Dream Girl because of they can't figure out what to do with her.
I think the visuals are better than the annual, more consistent anyway.
Oh, well, yeah, because you still have Greg LaRocque and Mike DeCarlo and what is it? Arne Starr.
And I feel like if you look at the very last page, when you have that close up with that, all of the line work.
Yeah, the little detail stuff.
That feels like
it's like Vertigo comics. Is he the Vertigo comics guy?
Mike DeCarlo. I don't remember what Arne Starr does, honestly. I think he's near
that looks like Swamp Thing art right there, to tell you the truth.
And I love it. I love it to death.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's something that LaRocque and DeCarlo came up with themselves. I feel like that is Arne Starr's influence. But if you look at it, I'm just like, oh, poor Dream Girl. I want to buy her a cheeseburger. But yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like the shocking moment in this is Starboy is being pulled home, which is a setup for something big and amazing, and it's fine. But it's also, just kind of it feels like it's all set up. There's a lot of just pushing and
and the tracking down the Dawn Starr doing her thing, trying to track down Atmos is kind of wasted. I mean,
very played out. Once again, my powers are failing. What can I do? Oh.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Anyway, it's an okay issue. That wraps it up for this installment of the Legion Clubhouse. Matthew, what did we learn this week?
We learned that Atmos lives in a giant sphere, but nobody ever called it the atmosphere, and that is a huge failing.
I think we also learned that Cousin Oliver sucks, and I'm glad he's gone.
We also learned that Atmos sucks, but he's not gone yet.
Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out this week. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, just send us a email, podcast@majorspoilers.com. We love hearing from you on Twitter or all of our other socials. And until next time, I'm gonna bust right through this building, man, with all the stutters and all the things in between, dude.
I'm Porky Pig Lad.
The Legion Clubhouse is a production of Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC, and is produced by Steven Schleicher. Your hosts were Matthew Peterson and Steven Schleicher. You can follow Matthew at Mighty King Cobra and Steven at Major Spoilers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Legion Clubhouse. If you have questions or comments, send them to podcast@majorspoilers.com. I'm Jason Inman. Until next time, eat it, Grandpa.
This podcast is copyright 2024 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.